Hello. You'll have to excuse me because I'm sick, so at some points I may cough and it's loud and I can't help it because, I want to make a video because I don't know what kind of time I'm going to have when I get back to Finland. But, so basically I'm just going to use what I have. I have like an AI setup right now, like an interface, and that's what I hear everything through, and then I have like a little, Apple earbud mic on my shoulder for my audio, and I've done whatever I can to make it sound not so bad. As long as there's no static in it, that's kind of the most important piece. I tried to use Adobe Audition, but as most Adobe products are, they're just completely useless. So I basically am using this, and I got this from. I emailed them and asked them for a student discount already, but I had torrented this on my laptop, and it's just here and available for me right now because I could just check my license on my laptop because I wasn't able to torrent it from my PC because it just wasn't working. So I'm thinking that today I'm going to start a dubstep basics thing. A friend suggested that maybe I should do that for Bitwig. And then if you use Ableton, it's very easy to transfer over the skills. Bitwig and Ableton are the same DAW in all the most basic ways. So yeah. And this audio thing's not going to be permanent. Probably there might be another video that has this shitty audio, but then after that it'll be better because I'll be home with my microphone and stuff, which I didn't bring with me to Canada. So I guess the first thing we'll do is go over templates for the dubsteps in this program. So this is a completely empty project. What I'm going to recommend doing right away is in your master channel. I like to do this. I go to an oscilloscope. Go grab a limiter. So I just stick the limiter here around 150 milliseconds, and then I drop the scale of this down to 1, and then I put it on mid-side process like this, and that way, if I'm looking at it, yeah, like this. Sorry. I like to do it like this, because then it shows me my audio, and then as soon as I go ahead and pan it, it will also show me all my phasing. This is really helpful if you want to see if you have too much stereo, because your stereo should never be louder than your mono, really, because that's kind of bad. So that's a good thing to have, and then the limiter's just there just because. And then, if you want, you could throw down a mid-side split tool here, and then do a 25 4-pole cut here, and then a 125 side cut at 4-pole in here as well. Easily enough, like this. I do this in everything I do, except for Foley. So that I'll put that there. So this is in the mid, and then I copy it into side, and then I just change it to 125. And then now you have a mid-side split. But I'm just going to use a preset I've made for basically all my master EQs, which just looks like this. And this is the same thing. So this is 30, 30, 25, 125, and then I have a tilt shelf just to lower the stereo as it gets lower a little bit and boost some of the high end, and then I cut at 15K, brick wall at maximum. And that's usually what I do here. And so like that's basically the master all done and set up right there, and you see there's minimal delay on there. The only delay is probably just because of this Pro Q. Okay, maybe it's a limiter. Yeah, limiters always introduce latency problems. It's just how it goes. And then let's see. So you're gonna want to do your side chains, and side chains are gonna be like really different per person, or like specifically like what you want in a song. So like most people say like sort it up into FX, synths, basses, and then what's the other one? Percussion. And then like just go from there. Or you can also have a side chain for like all of them at the same time. If you do one for everything, like a master side chain, you basically are going to absolutely need like a fancy compressor to get like any sort of customization or like any sort of control, because I have currently been using Pro C for all my side chaining. And down here there is like options for this, like what do you want to sidechain, what do you not, and then I usually like have like a 3K like roll off, so it's not sidechaining this high noise. And then I will take this and do a low shelf, and then around 150 pop it up and then make it a little sharper, so that way all my bass is getting like sidechained heavier than the front side. It's like a line, so that way all high energy things are being like super sidechained, because the kicks and snares are also high energy things, so those are the most important things to get sidechained. And it's around 150, which is like fundamental tone. 250 wouldn't even be that bad, because that's also fundamental tone area. And you can do it like this. You can make the roll off like not so crazy or something. And then like I usually do like 5 milliseconds attack, 200 milliseconds of release. You want to take auto gain off, because if not, it's going to like compress and then like raise volume, which is not the point of a sidechain. You do that stuff in the mastering, and then I don't know, like bus or punch or pumping, probably pumping. Threshold around -31. A knee is fine. A knee gives it like a bit of a roundness. If you don't want a knee, take it off, whatever. And then this is how it goes. This is how I like to do my side chains, like master side chains, sort of. And then in here, all you do is select it in this button here. You can switch it back and forth. And then if you want to use a dynamics processor, you totally can. Bitwig's actually kind of fancy like this. You can't even do this in like FL, or like you can do it in Ableton, I believe, but you can't do this in FL or in like Reason and stuff super easily. All you have to do is say you don't own FabFilter plugins, which if you don't, I very much recommend them. So if I want to do basically the exact same thing I just did, change this to low shelf, put it at 150, add 10 decibels. Then I'll come over here, do a 4, put it at 3K, and this is exactly what I did in Pro C, but now it's in here, the dynamics, and then now you can adjust your knee whatever way, and then the ratio of like 3 or 4, and then my threshold again down to like -31, and then I now have this like fancy side chain that will like. So what this basically does is it raises like the technical volume of these instruments, like of this area. So then what happens is the compressor or the dynamics is like, oh, that's super loud. but because I'm bringing everything down to like -31s or whatever, it knows it's going to say, okay, well, I have to compress this like harder because it's louder, but it's not actually louder. It thinks it has, so it's going to compress this area by relatively 10 more decibels than everything else because it thinks it's louder, but it's not, because this is the sidechain effect. So you're basically, in the sidechain section, you're just saying, oh, these frequencies are louder than they actually are, because it's going to think that all the frequencies coming in are under like this sort of EQ, so it's going to be like, oh, there's no real like anything past 3K to actually sidechain, so I can ignore that, and it's going to be like, oh, well, hang on, this bass area, the 150 and lower, is really loud compared to the rest of it, so I'm going to sidechain this section harder, but then it's actually not, so that's how that works, if you're curious. But you can do this with the Dynamics plugin here, and however, the Sidechain plugin works a little different here in the Dynamics than it does in Pro C. There's something funky about like release times and stuff here, because I find usually around like 100 to 200 is pretty good in Pro C, but whenever I use the Bitwig one, I find between 50 to 100 is really good. Or maybe my preferences have just changed, but this is like a good setup here. I would say probably like 0 milliseconds and then 75 release for like dubstep, or even 50 because you want it to be fast, like good ducking. Also, it depends on the kind of dubstep you want to make as well. Then you can add attack to your leisure. The more attack, the less clicking you will get when it ducks. However, that means your sidechain will be a little more delayed, and then that can cause like additive information issues with bass, and then making the sidechain basically ineffective. So keep that in mind. So that's a good Dynamics, but I'm going to stick with this Pro C because it's what I do. So we could make like groups here. FX. And then synth. Bass. Hey, you didn't capitalize that. And then, like what? Synth bass, effects. Sorry, my brain is wandering. Oh yeah, then like you could do. It's not on the tip of my tongue. Synths, FXs, and then the bass, and then you usually have like some sort of drum group. And then the drum group is where you would like process percussion if you want to sidechain them. In dubstep, it's one of the genres that's very common to sidechain your hi-hats and such, just because of like making room for the basses or whatever. I sometimes do it and I sometimes don't. It depends on what you're trying to go for. So, like, a really good safe bet is just not to do it at all. And so maybe we'll just make this a drum group. Oops. Doesn't have, yeah, it's Shift R. And then color code these whatever you wish. I think I usually have my FX like purple, basses like green or something, and then synths blue, but maybe I'll change them to like orange or pink. And then my drums I usually have on these top colors, these more special ones, or like grosser colors that I never actually use. We could put the drums like on brown or something, I think. I could throw my drums at the top here, like so. And then we don't need that serum, but we'll have like an FX. How I like to organize my stuff is I like to have the FX like all the way at the bottom. And my synths here, and then basses close to the drums, because bass are like the most rhythmic things relevant to drums. And then at the end of the day, if you have a bunch of tracks in your bass anyways, and you can't really see like if you want to like sit here and look at your arranger while you're down here working with MIDI, so you can like line up stuff, you can just minimize this bass group, and then it's like right there, and it's a little nicer. So this is generally what I look like when I do this, like, well, this project. So we can set up a trigger track, like ghost kick. So I usually make these white, and then I label them triggered or something like that. So that way so that way it sounds like an angry feminist. And then let's see, I like to use PolySynth. So what we're gonna need for this is PolySynth, a compressor, and then the peak limiter. You need to change the volume to 0. And then, like, I wouldn't recommend doing this because this is extremely bad for your ears. So just take off the output entirely. You need to come into the well, like, if you don't know what you're doing, then like whatever. But PolySynth, come into PolySynth, take off all velocity sensitivity, take off all the amplitude, so it's down to like completely nothing. There's no modulation of any sorts here. Go into filters, put on a high pass, bring the frequency all the way down to 10, because basically I'm cutting 25 and lower, so it doesn't matter if I have a high pass at 10 because I'm not going to miss those frequencies. But if I have a high pass or low pass up at 19, as you can see, I'm missing basically all the frequencies past 20K and stuff, which is like a no-go. For sidechain, it doesn't matter, but this is what I do in general. And then so basically a high pass, no frequency, all key resonance off, take off this EG here, the effect, the envelope depth filter, so that way there's no modulation going on. So then now you can test this, and you can see we're getting input. So what you need to do is come to this compressor, just like wreck the threshold all the way down, and then like infinity ratio, like no release, and max attack. So that comes in like this. And as you can see here, over in the corner, it's going to say 0.3 decibels. This is good. You want your trigger to be like smack on, like as close as possible to 0 decibels, so it's just like super loud. And it's just a click at this point, and then you can lower this if you want to be like that. But this is really loud if you don't take this off. So that's why I tell you to take it off, because it's good for you. So this is my click track, and it works, and it's super loud. So now I can come in here. This doesn't actually need sidechain. Come in here, and then I'm going to say triggered post, because I'm going to at some point want to do volume automation of the trigger. Oh, that's cool. I can do this. If I need to, like, can I? Huh. I can do volume automation, and it will work. If I do pre, what happens is it won't do the volume automation, and then it also won't take into consideration these compressors and stuff you've used to make it like force at 0 decibels. So yeah. And then I'm going to come in here, select these on all of them. You could always select them on one, and then you have to like alt drag. You can't command C and paste because it will remove your options. So like if I wanted to come from here, I can't just like go command C and then paste it here, because if you come look, it has removed my input. So what you have to do, hold alt, drag this, plop it there, let go of alt, go check, and it still has it. That's how you copy and paste like sidechains really fast. If you're into that sort of thing, and there you go. That's done. Okay, so now we've gotten this far, and it's taken us like what, 20 minutes because we're stupid. Yeah, there we go. So we're in here. We've got these presets. It's set up basically. So now what I like to do is make like probably like four audio effect tracks, like so. And then what I do is I make this like ambience or something, like the bottom one, and then I do a 1V, 2V, and then 3V, and you can basically do this like up to any number. So what this is going to do is, let's see here, how to explain this. This is going to like, I'm going to use these, so like this is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, then ambience is just going to be like 6 seconds, and then it's going to be super stereo wide and like really obnoxious. So basically I can throw like things I want to be like super stereo in there, and then it's just like instant widening of the track if I want to throw like an ARP or something in there. And then like I'm going to want to sidechain all of these as well. So like let's do that. So they'll have side chains now. And then again, maybe you want to make a fifth ambience track and just make this like side chain. Oops. Whatever. And then you can come here and select your tracks. And this don't work actually, never mind. So you'd have to go through and you can select the master to go to sidechain, because you can never send a audio effect to an audio track here and then back to the master. How Bitwig works is you have your top racks. These are all of your sounds, and then they can go to the bottom set of racks, which is here, and then they will go to the master. But they can never, you can only send these to other effect tracks, and then you can only send tracks up here to other audio tracks or to these effect tracks or to the master. So like master, you can't send anything. These can only go to 2 things. These can go to 3 things. So that's how it works. So if you wanted to do like more specific reverbs, like say you wanted to have like synth reverb separate from bass reverbs, my suggestion would be to place your like reverbs in the group like this. So that way only those have access to those reverbs. I actually might switch my thing around to this, but basically in here, I now have access, and then I can send these to now to audio tracks because they're in my top racks. So then it could be sidechain. So for example, this is going to go to my synth master now. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. I'm going to take my 1, 3. See, but like what's nice about having them down here is like they're all going to cooperate together. But it can make it like really messy really fast. So I might just plop these here in the synth section. And then I'm not using this. I could put this ambience inside the reverb section, but then I also want our ambience for my synth section, if that makes sense. And that way I have access to those, and then in here they only have access to like whatever, and then I can go out with the master like side chains or whatever. I'm just trying to decide if I actually want to do this or not. Let's just keep it simple. Let's not do this right now. We'll leave these to mind. Here. I like, please contact Bitwig with how you've managed to achieve this. So does that mean this isn't going to work? Don't tell me I just like broke. Oh god. Oh, okay, I see what I've done. Okay, I need to delete these. They need to go because I was making... Yeah, there we go. Alright, don't do that. Don't move something from here to the synth and then have them in 2 separate folders, then move them back, because that's just going to make problems. So let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have 1V, 2V, 3V, amb, and I'm going to make a totally separate sidechain. Then put a V at the end. And then I'm going to send these to the sidechain V. Okay. And then in here, temporarily, some point when you start to develop your song and you want specific sidechainings, that's what you do. Then this will go to the master. When you're doing stuff, just don't send it to the sidechain, basically. Let this stuff go there. And then we have some options here. So we have reverb. So behold the FabFilters, not FabFilters. This is actually an extremely impressive reverb, and I say this like all the time. This reverb here, not even the Pro R. Everyone knows it's impressive. I'm talking about like the Bitwig one. So check this out. So you have your decay rates up here, this blue, and then you have your actual EQ of what comes out, then your mix. So if you actually pay close attention to this, Bitwig has the exact same features as Pro R. Well, not exact same, but relatively. So, like if we change this, the high to 100, and this to 100, we now have a flat reverb line that will change with our R in general, so they're at 100%. So, this tank FX, believe it or not, is actually a decay rate of sorts. I believe. I haven't tested this, but I realized this the other day. If I'm wrong, someone call me out in the comments, please. And you so like if I do this, like I basically can do the exact same thing in here. Nope. Like this or whatever, you know. And then if you want to get this bottom EQ, that's in the wet FX, because this is like EQ of what comes out, but this is the tank FX. And as far as I know, the tank is in reference to this little rectangle, which is like decay rates. So that's where I'm at on that. We could test it, but I don't want to waste that much time in this video. But yeah, so that's just the thing I would like to point out. But other than that, I'm going to use Pro R to make all of my nonsense here. It's kind of hard. Like, basically, you want to sound design a room in your brain. Is this like, how is this basic default setting? This is supposed to be like a generally good used reverb. So, yeah, in here, this is what I like to use. So, this is the 1V, so I'm going to put this at that room size, and then add a percentage of, like, decay. So this is going to be my 1 second decay rate. It's going to want 100% mix, obviously. You need to decide things like stereo width, so 70% is pretty standard in terms of, like, widths. Well, also, so is 100%, and then 125 is the max, or 120 in this case. So 100 is pretty wide. 75 is usually where it's more at. 75 is very reasonable, and like it's just to kind of mimic like left-right recordings of ambience and stuff, because like you wouldn't get like 125% room ambience for a reverb out of recording that with a microphone. Like it's only a digital thing, and so to sound design the room isn't like what kind of materials do you imagine this room being made out of? So you have to decide like where decay rates are going to be higher and lower, how much bass is like included, or like how much high end is included, and then you need to decide like things like distance from walls, and then again materials, because certain materials are going to completely just annihilate to the point where you can't even hear it. Certain things, right? So how do you want to do that? And then how much high end do you want? My suggestion, not very much. Like look at this default for an example. This is a pretty solid setup already. It gets rid of some of this like mud here in the midsection where like attacks usually are, up in the 600, like attacks of sounds. It rolls off some of this low end stuff with decay faster, and then it gets rid of like, again, this like muddier stuff for a reverb, which is a little higher than where it usually lies in a regular EQ, and it's up here. And then you've got your a little bit of a high cut. So like I'll just keep this as simple as possible. I'm just gonna like edit this a bit and then drag it down. Probably leave it at like 110, and then drop it from 100 to like maybe 60, and then put it to the 1 second. See, so this is like the pre-delay right here. So this is cool because it actually changes the sound quite a bit. I'm going to leave it at 50%, and I'm going to leave this at 30%, the character. I'm probably going to bump this up to like 75, though, this brightness. And then spacious, I'll leave it 70. Until we get to the ambience, we'll get a little fancier. So then I'll have this look maybe not so ridiculous here. Maybe we'll attack this area more, and then like get rid of some of this, like 150, like this. We could do something like this. Cool. And then again here, maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we want to have a bit of a higher thing going on here and here, just a little bit. So this is going to be our reverb. If you're trying to make like a serious song, don't just sit here and turn knobs like I'm doing. This is a tutorial video for F's sakes. So like, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to copy and paste it on 3, and then I'm going to come in here, up the room size, lower the decay rate. Done. Go into the third one, up the room size, increase the decay rate. Or sorry, from the last one, up the room size, lower the decay rate. And here we are. So now, we're going to go on to this ambience one, which we want to use the same room specifications, per se. And then we need to get a little more fancy, so we need to have like a big room like this. Throw up the decay rate. This is where we're going to decide things like far. Maybe we'll make it a little far. Make it a little more lively. Maybe a little darker. Add max width. And this is going to be our... My mic's falling off my shoulder. So sorry for this bad audio quality. And so like this is now going to be our ambience reverb. Here, so like basically we've stuck with like making these 4 verbs here, and they all have like the same room design, but they just have different decay rates. So that's kind of the point. So like now we have that done. There you go. And then when I start getting into, like, I kind of want to stop this video here. Yeah, definitely. When I get into the next video, we're going to start talking about the creation of sub-basses, which was the one group I was forgetting in this template, which was making sub. Here, I totally forgot. So we're going to make sub-basses, and it's going to be actually quite an intense experience, because people don't realize that a sub isn't just a sine wave. It's not how it works. Your sub needs to be like just as detailed as like a kick. So like we'll get into that. I'll show you how I like my subs to be, and I'm probably going to make that video right after, and then this video probably come a day later. But yeah, this video is going to end here, and then when I start talking about sub, we'll see how long the video is. Maybe I'll do sub and basses together, or maybe I'll just do a small sub video first, and then do basses and synths and FX all separately, see, and then talk about mixing and mastering, and then like arrangements and all that kind of stuff. I kind of want to leave sound design till later, because people don't realize that your sound design is irrelevant if you don't understand how to arrange and mix things, because you're going to end up making a foundation of sound design that has nothing to do with the kind of music that you're going to make, or the way, and then you're never going to develop a sound and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that probably in the next video, but I'm going to end this here. Showed you how to set up a template for dubsteps, and then this is what we're going to use. In fact, I'm going to save this template right now, and then this isn't limited to just dubstep. I would strongly suggest you always get as experimentational as possible and not limit like templates to genres or whatever, but this is definitely going to be geared more towards like the strengths of dubstep than like drum and bass. Or sorry, not even drum and bass, like electro, because electro usually sounds a lot more bright in most cases than dubstep. Dubstep sounds fairly dark and like serious all the time, or silly, but like, yeah. Anyways, peace.